So in this video, we are going to look at copying and moving and renaming both files and folders. So that's going to be achieved using two different commands from the bash shell. The first one is the cp command. Okay, so cp, as you may guess, means copy. So if you do a type cp, it's going to tell you that this is an external command from the shell, and it's going to allow you to copy one file or one folder and all of the subfolder and the file they contain from one location, which is referred to as the source, to another location in the file system that is referred to as the destination. And the order in which you specify thing is you specify cp and then you provide argument and option, but you specify, if we scroll back to the front of the help, you specify first the source of the data you want to copy and then its destination. Okay, and while you copy things, you can, the same shot, pretty much rename them. So we're going to see about that. So let's take a quick example here. I am in my home folder. I am under the edu subfolder, and as you can see here, I've created a bunch of folders that subfolders in the edu subfolder that correspond to course names, and then I created some subfolders that represent modules in those courses, and then a few files that I created just empty with touch. Okay, so let's say that I want to copy things in that context, in that example. So I'm going to first create a new subfolder in my edu named backup. So let's take a look. Oops. There we go, my backup folder has been created here. And now what I want to do is I want to make copies of some of the course folders that I have, preferably those that contain, a lot of information, like this one contains 3 subfolders and a file. I want to make a copy of that course and put it into backup. So one way to do that is to use, obviously, the cp command. But because I'm talking about copying more than a file, I'm going to have to use some specific option. So let's start by the easiest thing to do, copying one file. So I'm going to copy 3353 readme.md, okay? And I'm going to put it in my backup. If I do this, and then call tree, there you go, you see that the readme.md file that was here has been copied here. And of course, this is an empty file for which I use touch, so it's not really exciting. But if there was any content and I check the content of that file with a text editor, then obviously the point is that it's the same content that has been copied. Okay, so now we have 2 versions of that file. I could have done something like this. I could have said, so you see here that I specified as my source the file I wanted to make a copy of, and that file name was expressed as a path name that was relative to my current working directory. Could have been an absolute path name, no problem there. And then my destination was just the name of a folder. Again, I could have specified, absolute path name, relative path name here, the name of a folder where I wanted to put the copy of that file. And by default, the copy of the file has the same name as the original, but I can change that. I could have said, I want you to copy it and call it readme.md my backup version. Why not? Or put here like the name of the month or something like that, so that I remember where I got that from. And when I do tree, you can see that I did a second copy here, so I didn't modify the previous one, but I did a second copy, and now that second copy has a different name. So this file here that is highlighted and this file here that is highlighted are still the same. They are a copy of one another. I just renamed it as I made the copy on the fly. So that's for files. Now, what about folders, which was our original intent? I want to make a backup copy of COP3353. So the option I'm going to use here is -R for recursive. So same logic than we talked about in a previous video when looking at the rm command. Okay, this time we say that we want to copy COP3353. All right, and we want to make a copy of that folder, and we want to make a copy of all the subfolder in that folder and all the files in that folder. So let's start by doing things, pretty much without the recursive option. So if I try to do COP3353 and I say that I want to make a copy of this inside of backup, okay, it tells me pretty much you want to copy a bunch of things, but I'm going to ignore this one because it's a directory. So that brings me, by the way, to the remark that when you do copy of source to destination, you could say, I want to copy multiple, folders or files, okay? 2513. So I put a list here. I'm going to highlight it in a second. I put a list here of all the things that I want to copy into that destination folder. So it could be a list of folders like here, could be a list of files, could be a list of folders and files, whatever. But the problem is the same, okay? If I try to copy folders like in this example, it's going to tell me, well, you asked me to copy this. It's a folder, I don't know how to do it. This, same thing, this, same thing. So the behavior of CP is very similar to that of RM with respect to how they try to just handle files by default. And if you try to handle folders, then you bump into error messages. But no problem, let's go here, edit this line, this command line, and use this time the proper -R option that tells copy, yes, I know what I'm doing, I want you to copy everything. This is a folder, copy everything in that folder, including subfolders and files and whatnot. So now that we have the proper option, we run that command, and if we are trying to display real quick what we have now in EDU, it's getting bigger, right? So we're going to scroll back up a bit. We have a backup folder in which we had already those 2 versions of README from our previous experiments, okay? And now we have a copy of everything that was in COP 2512, everything that was in COP 2513. You can compare here, you can still see them in the same screen. And if I scroll down a little bit, I'm going to try to do it only a few lines, you see everything that was in 3353 has been also copied, okay? So if you have multiple source and a destination, the default behavior is I'm going to use the same names. Okay, but if you have only one source, for example, you say, all right, let's copy CEN 6084, right? CN, sorry about that, CN 6084, and copy it to backup. Then because you have only one source, you can also change the name as you go. So I could say this is my CN 6084 course dot backup version. Why not? Okay, or backup version like so. If I do this, the same way we saw, that we could copy a file and rename it, well, we copied a folder, and if I look at the structure of my subfolder, there we go, it's here. If there was anything inside CN6084, it would have been copied also because I had the -R option, but more importantly, this whole folder and its subfolder and etc., everything inside of there got also copied in a renamed version, CN6084.backup version. Okay. All right. So this is it pretty much for the CP command. And the main thing with commands is there are 2 things, right? Every time we view a new command, you know that there are many more options. So you do cp-help. Okay, you're going to get some option here that are very succinctly exposed to you. So you need to take a look at what the command can do. All right. And then the second thing is, and I've mentioned that, but I want it to be extra clear. When a command like cp takes as parameter one or more file name or folder name, you should know by now that all of those names can be specified using relative path names or absolute path names. Okay, so everything we've seen in the previous video still applies here and still builds up to make those commands very, very flexible. So now that we talked about CP, let's talk about the next command in this video, which is MV. MV stands for move. So the idea of CP is that you make a copy of the data somewhere else. The idea of move is that you do not make a copy, you simply relocate a file or a folder somewhere else. So let's take a concrete example here. And I'm going to real quick get rid of that backup folder for now, okay? So that when we look at our structure here, it's simpler to handle. So let's say that I create a new file named something, okay? And I'm going to create that new file named something right here in EDU. So if I look at my folder in the hierarchy, something is right here in EDU, and I want to move in, let's say in CN6084. So move command, source, and then destination. So I could say I want to move just something, but I could specify multiple sources, multiple file names, multiple folder name, and then the target where I want to move them. So let's do that right away because it's not difficult. So let's say I want to move, let's say I have something, I have something else, so two different file name, and then I have a folder stuff. Okay, let's be creative here. So let's look at our startup state. Okay, so a folder stuff, something, and something else that are two files. So I want to move all of that. So I say something, something else, and stuff. That's my source. Okay, and I want to move it to where? To CEN6084. So again, all of those could be relative absolute path names, no problem. Enter. And now I do tree. And you see that, okay, first thing, something, something else stuff disappeared from right under the edu folder, and they have been relocated inside CEN6084. So that worked just fine. Okay? So again, like with the CP command and the previous example we've discussed, if you have several sources, you specify a folder, everything is moved into that folder. It's the same way that if you have several sources with CP and you specify a folder, everything is copied into that folder with the same name. And this is what happened here too. But if you have only one source, like for example, you say I want to move CN6084 something, and I want to move it to COP 4931, a folder that has nothing in it, and I want to call it something again. Okay? If I do that, because I have only one source, and I specify the target that is not a folder where I want to move that source, but a folder and the name of that I want to reassign to that file, then of course, when I'm going to do the tree, you see that I move something away from CEN6084. It's now in COP 4931, and the name has been changed. Still the same file in terms of content, so the name of the file has been changed. That's all. Okay? What else? Well, we could do that also with a folder. So I could say I want to move my CN6084 stuff folder, and I want to move it into COP 4931 and calling stuff new stuff. Why not? New stuff. There we go. And then if I do, again, look at the structure of my folders, stuff has been moved from here to actually the COP 4931 subfolder, and it's now named new stuff. Okay, so I can use this move command to do those kind of operation. Pretty much it works the same way than CP, right? Instead of making a copy, it's just move the file, but the rules are the same. You can rename on the fly and stuff like that. So that means that if you want to do something as simple as rename a file or a folder without moving it, you can do that with move. So it's kind of a side effect. You are not really moving stuff around the file system in terms of location. You are just using the fact that move is capable to move something in exactly the same location where it is right now, but just change its name. Let's see how that would work. So I can do a move COP 4931, and inside I have something called something again, which is a file. I can move it to COP 4931, so same location, okay, relative path, and take it and call it something yet again. If I do tree, there we go, it has been renamed. So if my current working directory was already COP 4931, right, it would be even easier. I could say move something yet again into something yet again, okay, and you see that's been doing the renaming. So I can use like short, I can use just the name of the file if I'm already in the same folder, or I can use absolute path name, relative path name. I could even do some funky stuff like I want to move something yet again in that current working directory into /home tux edu COP 4931. So I'm using a full name, right? And then I call it something full, for full path name. Okay, so yeah, I kind of move stuff, but really I don't, because it's the same location, it's the same folder. I just kind of I'm trying to be tricky here, I guess, so exam question style tricky, where I'm referring to the same current working directory here implicitly by a relative path name, okay, and this is the best way to do it because I'm already in that folder, so I just put the name of the file, and then I use an absolute path name here. Whoops, too much, going back in the history of the window here. I use an absolute path name here, and then I change the name of the file. So whether or not this is a great way to do things, yes, I will not try to argue that this is actually clear and easy to follow, but it's a good way to test that you actually understand what's going on, even when it's not a trivial use case that you would use every day. So be careful about that kind of stuff. Okay, that's going to be a good question for the final or intermediary exam or whatnot, or even the quizzes. All right, well, we covered CP move, and so therefore we are done with the material related to navigating the file system from the command line, and more specifically in this video, copying and moving files around.